find animating to audio to be a truly liberating experience. It opens up my creativity because I'm inspired by audio, and I have a feeling a lot of you are. Now, one of the beautiful things about After Effects is it makes the ability to import and edit audio relatively simple. So let's go ahead and get started by importing some audio into our project. Double-click in the project panel to open the Import File dialog box, and make sure you navigate into your exercise files to the Footage folder and go to your Audio folder. In there, let's select Animation Music.wav. Now, before we import, let's talk about audio compression. Right now, we've got WAV files selected, WAV and AIF uncompressed formats. Those are the formats I recommend that you import into After Effects. I found they give you the least amount of headache. I know you might be thinking, well, does it import and support MP3 files? And I'll say yes. But in general, if you can get a WAV and you want to have the uncompressed format to work with, now let's go ahead and import the file. Just click the Open button, and now we have the audio in our project. So let's click on that file and drag it down to the folder icon. When we let go, it's already been dropped into an untitled folder. So let's go ahead and rename this audio. Now it's open the audio folder because I want to create a composition based on the length of this WAV file. Let's just click and drag on that file and drag it down to the Comp button, the third button from the right. When you let go, it's automatically going to create a composition based on the length of the music. Now when I'm editing audio or even listening to audio, I like to see the waveform. Now if you press L, that'll open the audio levels. That just tells you how loud or quiet the song is. You could see ours is set at 0 dB, so it's going to be fine. Let's go ahead and press LL to open our waveform setting. So now if we press period on our keypad, we can do a real-time audio preview. The reason I recommend real-time audio preview is that it allows you to add markers in real time. So it's very easy to create markers that correspond to key things that are happening in the music. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to select layer 1, and I could press period on my keypad to go ahead and start audio playback, or I could use a key command on my normal size keyboard, control period. Now once it starts playback, I'm going to go ahead and press the asterisk key on my keypad to add a marker. You can press Ctrl 8 on a normal size keyboard if that's what you need. Alright, let's go ahead and preview this. Now go ahead and press the spacebar to stop playback. As you can tell, this audio track just has different elements coming in at different points in time. It's building. Now of course I find this inspirational to build graphics over top of. So we're going to go ahead and use this track. And this time I want you to add a marker every time you think you're going to hear a new instrument get introduced into the song. So again, period on the keypad and asterisk to add markers. I'm going to press the spacebar to stop playback. Now as you're adding your markers, you may or may not see them appear in the timeline. A lot of times you'll just have to wait till you stop playback, and then you'll see that they've been added to the timeline. Now the kind of markers that we created right here are called layer markers because they are applied directly to the layer. We can use them for navigation by clicking on our current time indicator and then holding down Shift after you start moving. That will cause the time indicator to snap to the different layer markers. Now I want to double check my edit point here for the beginning of my markers. I'm going to go ahead and change the magnification of my timeline by clicking this button in the upper right hand corner to change the magnification. As I click and drag to the left, it's changing the magnification. Now let's preview and see how well the markers lined up. I'm going to stop playback. I can tell that I did a pretty good job. I must have good rhythm today, so what we'll do is actually trim off the different parts of the audio that we no longer need. To do that, with layer 1 selected, I want you to press Shift Command D or Shift Control D on the PC. That automatically split the layer. So I can go ahead and select layer 2 and press delete because I no longer need it. Now let's move our current time indicator past all 4 of the markers and then hold down Shift and drag it back towards the last marker. Let's make sure this lined up with the audio as well by loading another audio only preview. I'm going to press the spacebar to stop playback and just move back a couple of frames here in the timeline, and I'll try and preview that one more time. Okay, so it did appear as though the marker was added in the right place. So let's make sure that we snap our current time indicator to that marker and then select layer 1 and press Shift Command D or Shift Control D on the PC. Now, with layer 1 selected, we can press Delete and that gets rid of all the extra music. Now, if we want to add labels to our markers, we can do so just by double clicking on the marker. So let's double click the second one here and I'll just call this second, and when I click OK, notice I've added a label for that marker. We can do the same thing here by double clicking on our third marker and call it third. Now these markers get tied to the layer, but if I'm going to use this composition as a pre-composition and a different comp, I want to go ahead and add some markers into my timeline panel. So to do that, make sure that layer 1 is not selected and then go ahead and snap your current time indicator to the second keyframe. Now when you press the asterisk key, it's added a keyframe in the top of the composition. This way, if I pre-compose this, you'll still see these markers in use. So let's do that for the other markers. Let's make sure we use the shift drag technique and we can go ahead and add markers for the rest. Now I don't need to label these markers, but you can do so by using the same double click technique. What we're going to do right now is change the length of the composition to the length of the audio. We're almost finished. All we have to do is select layer 1, press 0 to make sure that we're on the output point for that layer, and then press N to reset the work area for that layer. Now press I to move to the end point of that layer, and again we'll reset the work area, but this time we reset the work area start. So press B for the beginning. Now we have a selection over the layer. Now this work area can be used to change the duration of a composition. So if I right click or control click anywhere in this work area, I can choose Trim Comp to Work Area. That way everything has been resized and it fits all within this one composition. Now if you notice up at the beginning here, my number starts at 901. I like to start at 0. So I'm going to go ahead and change that setting. Press Command K or Control K on Windows to open your composition settings. In here, let's change the start time to code to 0. Now when we click OK, you can see the overall length of this to 18 seconds, and we are able to add markers. So when it comes to previewing your audio, you want to make sure to do real-time audio only previews using period on your keypad or control period on your keyboard. And then if you want to add markers, it's the asterisk key on your keypad or control 8 on your normal size keyboard.